But first, this breaking news and my take. It is unlikely that we will get a John Durham interim report or any indictments before the election. Now just 37 days away, a debate has begun within the Department of Justice as the timing of John Durham's criminal investigation conclusions. I'm being told by sources it is now too close to the election and could be viewed as politically motivated. However, I can confirm Durham's investigation is significant and it is expanding. Reports Friday that Durham has expanded the scope of his investigation to include the Clinton Foundation donations while Clinton was sitting Secretary of State. The same group, remember, at the FBI was leading these two investigations. It was led by former FBI agent Peter Strzok. He was overseeing both investigations, one into the Clinton use of an unsecure server and one into Donald Trump's alleged collusion. They were treated extremely differently, even though there was no evidence found of wrongdoing for Trump and gross negligence found in Clinton's handling of her unsecured server. Again, I believe, based on my conversations with sources, it is unlikely you will hear any conclusions by John Durham by November 3rd. I asked A.G. Barr about the timing of this investigation earlier this year.
So that has been surprising to me, that people aren't concerned about civil liberties and in the integrity of our governmental process. In terms of the future of Durham's investigation, he's pressing ahead as hard as he can, and I expect that, we will have some, hopefully before the end of the summer. But as I've said, his investigation will continue. It's not going to stop because of the election. What happens after the election may depend on who wins the election.
Joining me right now to discuss this and the upcoming Supreme Court vote is the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Lindsey Graham. Mr. Chairman, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for being here. And the election.
Well, I don't know. I've never talked to Mr. Durham. I think he's a very capable, fair-minded prosecutor. But every time you look under one rock, you find something new. We've found in the last 2 or 3 days that the Russian subsource was actually suspected by the FBI of being a Russian spy all the way back to 2009. They never told the FISA court that. I'll be shocked if nobody's charged with a crime at the FBI or the Department of Justice for misleading the FISA court. The FISA application given to the FISA court completely misrepresented the subsource, who he was and what he said, and all the exculpatory information collected was never given to the court. That's a breach of duty by DOJ and the FBI to the court. So I'll be shocked if nobody is not charged with some kind of crime in defrauding the court, but that's up to Mr. Durham.
All right, I want to get back to this. I want to ask you about your upcoming testimony that you're going to be getting from Jim Comey on Wednesday, and also what else is in the books. But let me first ask you about Amy Coney Barrett. What is your timeline, sir, in terms of the next moves, a confirmation process? Walk us through the Supreme Court nomination.
So we'll start on October the 12th, and more than half of the Supreme Court justices who've had hearings were done within 16 days or less. So we'll start on the 12th of October. We'll have a day of introduction. We'll have 2 days of questioning, Tuesday and Wednesday. And on the 15th, we'll begin the markup. We'll hold it over for a week, and we'll report her nomination out of the committee on October 22nd. Then it will be up to Senator McConnell as to what to do with the nomination once it comes out of committee.
So McConnell has to schedule a floor vote then in order to actually get the confirmation before the election?
Yes, but I will give him the nomination through the committee. We'll have a full, fair hearing. And let me say this, Democrats try to destroy Judge Barrett at their own peril. Their base is going nuts. They've raised $300 million, ActBlue has, since the passing of Justice Ginsburg. I'm being outraised 2-1. Every Republican running the Senate's being hit hard with all this money coming from ActBlue. So if you want to help me, LindseyGraham.com, $5 or $10 goes a long way. But the money shows the energy, and every Democratic senator is going to be under tremendous pressure to destroy Judge Barrett, and they do so at their own peril. I think the American people will not tolerate this fine nominee to be mistreated like Justice Kavanaugh was.
No, well, that's what I was going to say. Are you expecting the kind of fight that we saw over Judge Kavanaugh? I remember then Senator Kamala Harris was among those poking back at Brett Kavanaugh.
Well, so Maria, the pressure on these people on the Democratic side is enormous. Look at what they're saying about President Trump. Look at what they're saying about Judge Barrett. She's an incredibly capable, well-qualified judicial nominee, somebody you would expect a Republican to nominate to the court. The storylines about a religion are already starting. The one thing I can tell every American, we have a constitutional provision that prevents your religious choice being used against you if you're nominated to the Supreme Court or any other position in the government. And that's a good thing. So I don't know where it's going to go, but I know the amount of money coming in since the death of Justice Ginsburg tells me there's a lot of energy out there to take out Judge Barrett. Help me and others, lindseygraham.com. I keep saying that, but just the money is just overwhelming. The bottom line here is they're under a tremendous amount of pressure. But after Kavanaugh, let me say this. Yeah. After Kavanaugh, they try to destroy Judge Barrett at their own peril.
All right, let me move on to your upcoming testimony that you're going to get from Jim Comey. You're going to hear from Comey in a public hearing on Wednesday. Look, I've got to ask you right out, Senator, is this, I mean, look, he can just in a public hearing say, I can't talk about that. That's confidential. That's classified. So, I mean, sometimes I look at public hearings and say, this is just a sham. I mean, is it? Yeah. Are you really going to solicit information from Jim Comey Wednesday?
Well, he can't say that something's classified when it's been declassified. The information we received from Barr and Christopher Wray, and Attorney General Barr and Director Wray have been very helpful to me to get information out of the system. Durham had the first look at the fact that the primary subsource was suspected by the FBI of being a Russian agent. Yeah, I'm going to ask Jim Comey, did you know that the man who put the dossier together for Christopher Steele was a suspected Russian spy on the payroll of the Democratic Party? If you knew that, why didn't you tell the court? Did you know that the Russian subsource was interviewed by your own agents in January and March of 2017, and he disavowed the dossier as being reliable, bar talk and hearsay? And if you knew that, why didn't you tell the court? Because in April of 2017, you signed a warrant where none of this was in there. I'm going to ask him that, and I don't know, there's nothing classified about that. That's in the Horowitz report.
There is also breaking news in terms of who else you got to agree to come speak with you.
Yeah.
Tell me who else you're expecting.
The number 2, McCabe, is coming on October the 6th. I'm very glad he is. I'm negotiating with Strzok. I want to bring in Mr. Barnett, the man who said that there was no there in the Flynn case. Mr. Barnett was the agent in charge of investigating General Flynn for any suspected ties to Russia. On January the 4th, he did a memo wanting to close out the case, saying they found no evidence that General Flynn was working with the Russians in any fashion. It was January 5th meeting in the White House where they kept the case going. And what did Mr. Barnett say? That it seems to me they were out to get Trump, that there was no there. They kept pushing the Flynn case in spite of the evidence. What's the pattern here? Every time there was exculpatory evidence regarding the Carter Page warrant, they hid it or they altered it. They never told the court that the dossier wasn't reliable. They knew it wasn't reliable. They kept using it. They weren't searching for the truth. They were trying to get an outcome. When you look at what Mr. Barnett says and the way they defrauded the FISA court, you get a clear picture that these people are on a mission to go after Trump, not to find the truth. I think it's clear as day, and the mainstream media is ignoring this. Can you imagine if the shoe were on the other foot? That if the Republicans had done this. So, Maria, there's a day of reckoning coming. Just stay tuned. And there's more coming. Okay. There's something else coming, more damning than this, believe it or not.
So you are waiting for a further declassification of evidence this upcoming week that is, in fact, more damning than what we're talking about this morning.
Well, all I can say is that so what have we learned? Everything Russia-Trump was looked at. You had $25 million, 60 agents, you had subpoenas, you had people's lives turned upside down. The question is, did they look at Russia coming after Trump? We've got a Russian spy on the payroll of the Democratic Party, putting together a document that he tells the FBI is not reliable, and the FBI uses it 4 times to get a warrant against an American citizen, a member of the Trump team. What accounts for that? There's got to be, it's clear to anybody who's looking, they wouldn't take no for an answer when it came to Trump. They were out to get the man.
All right, so you are questioning whether or not the Mueller investigation was appropriate as well. You are also looking at the fraud against the FISA court, perhaps even worse than we know. And you say that the Flynn case is also questionable, based on what we know today. Even though we are likely not getting anything from John Durham before Election Day, you believe you'll have more declassifications to educate the public on what went down in 2016, Senator?
Yeah, stay tuned. So there's three buckets here. Was there any legitimate reason for Mueller to be investigating the Trump team for a crime regarding Russia? In 2017, there was no evidence that anybody on the Trump campaign was working with the Russians. The FISA abuse is another lane that we're all looking at. The court was misled, lied to. The FBI lied its ass off to the FISA court, hope somebody goes to jail and gets fired. And the third bucket is the Flynn case. They screwed General Flynn. There was no there, and the top leadership of DOJ and the FBI kept pushing, and now you got an agent in Barnett in charge of the case, a frontline agent saying this was wrong.
Thank you.